Today's video is about the biggest fraud in the history of sports. Not only in the UFC, but the history of fucking sports. He goes by the name of Arman Tsarukyan. Now, when you think of fraud, you might be thinking about Matt Serra over George St. Pierre. You might even be thinking about Paddy Pimblett. You might even be thinking about the absolute scrub Abubakar Nurmagomedov, who was in the UFC simply because of his relationships to Khabib. But no, the biggest fraud is Arman Tsarukyan. Now, why? What got us here? What got Arman to the Charles Oliveira fight? It was his fluke versus Beneil Dariush. Beneil Dariush is the person that caused all of this. So Beneil Dariush gets flatlined by Charles Oliveira. His chin is completely gone. That mixed with him going up in age. So Arman Tsarukyan catches Beneil Dariush early in an absolute fluke manner. Now, when I say fluke, you search up the word fluke. It's something that's probably 99% of the time not going to happen, but happens. And it's Arman Tsarukyan flatlining Beneil Dariush. Well, we got to give credit to Charles Oliveira for taking his chin. It's like when Chuck Liddell lost his chin. The second you lose your chin and you're getting up there in age, you're never the same. So Beneil Dariush was taken advantage of from Arman Tsarukyan. Now, what else? What fight can I point to that people all say, oh, this is the fight. It's the Makhachev fight. People have revisionist history. They act like Arman Tsarukyan was so close to winning that fight. He got robbed. No, go rewatch the fight. Arman Tsarukyan clearly lost. I'll give him one thing. He had a lot of scrambles. He didn't accept bottom position. He constantly wanted to get back up to his feet. But is that enough to win a fight? Is that enough, you scrambling 100 times, getting up to your feet? Is that enough for me to say, oh, he's going to be champion one day? No, it's not. It's absolutely not. I'll give him one thing. He did add some offensive grappling towards Islam Makhachev and even took Islam Makhachev down. But that's not enough for me to go, you know what? This kid's going to be champion. Now, what other fight do I look at and I go, this is the fight? In my personal opinion, and what should be yours, is the Mateusz Gamrot fight. Rounds 3, 4, 5 were clear. Gamrot beat Arman Tsarukyan, but it's the way, some of the ways that he was beating him, some of the slick back takes where I'm like, if Mateusz Gamrot can take your back, and he does have good jiu-jitsu, he did fight in ADCC, he did fight top of the food chain guys in Gary Tonin. He does have great jiu-jitsu. It just hasn't translated to the UFC. But if Mateusz Gamrot can take your back multiple times, who is the biggest threat on anybody's back? Pause. No Diddy. It's Charles Oliveira. Charles Oliveira has the best jiu-jitsu, MMA jiu-jitsu there is. If he can take your back, you're going to sleep. Now, outside of the back takes, I look at his striking. Arman Tsarukyan's striking defense is abysmal. Doesn't really have good head movement. He has good footwork, okay, getting in and out. He has a very snappy body kick, but his striking defense is abysmal. His head movement is trash. You can tell this guy growing up didn't really have striking. I would say he does have good Muay Thai, but striking defense is almost nowhere to be found. He has a high guard. Anytime he's in trouble, he goes back to the high guard and moves straight backwards instead of trying to like zigzag your way out, try to jab, try to slip. He doesn't do none of that. His striking defense is extremely bad. Joaquim Silva, who is an absolute can. You talk about a journeyman. The definition of journeyman is a picture of Joaquim Silva in the dictionary. Caught him with the left hook, had Arman Tsarukyan doing the chicken dance. Now, MMA math doesn't work to most people's eyes, but in this case, it does. If Joaquim Silva can catch you, Charles Oliveira is Joaquim Silva's striking times 5 million. Charles Oliveira has much better striking, has much better power, much crisper boxing, crisper Muay Thai, crisper everything than Joaquim Silva. If you can get caught by Joaquim Silva, he even got caught by Gamrot, wobbled a little bit. If Joaquim Silva has you doing the chicken dance, I am so sorry, Charles Oliveira will. Now, what's Arman's path to success? Everybody says wrestling. But the thing is, Charles Oliveira has seen wrestlers better than Arman Tsarukyan and has survived. Revisionist history time. A lot of y'all don't remember, but when he fought Islam Makhachev, Islam took him down. And what did Islam do? Absolutely nothing. Islam was having trouble with the ground and pound. So was Beneil Dariush. Charles Oliveira can stand back up against anybody anytime he wants. He has one problem, and it's a glaring problem. Charles Oliveira accepts bottom position. He wants to fight off his back. It's the Tony Ferguson problem. Charles Oliveira wants to submit people off his back. Off your back in MMA almost always doesn't work. A triangle almost always doesn't work unless the guy that's getting triangled or leg lock or whatever it is doesn't know what they're doing. Now, in these grapplers sense, like Islam Makhachev, Dariush, Arman, they know what they're doing. So Oliveira can't accept bottom position. But he survived against Islam. Survived. People have revisionist history. Go look back at the fight. He was throwing elbows from bottom position, throwing up submissions, had Khabib yelling, stay safe, in Dagestan or whatever Russian, whatever language that is. He had Khabib yelling, stay safe, and stood back up against Dariush. Dariush's ground and pound looked like a 4-year-old ground and pounding, but he stood back up against Dariush. So I can see Arman trying to go in for a single leg, and guess what? He's going to get Kevin Lead. Book it. Bookit. Book it. He's going to go in for a single leg, and he's going to get guillotined. Now, how? Here's my predictions. Arman Tsarukyan versus Charles Oliveira is going to be a competitive fight on the feet. They're going to catch each other. Both of them are going to, not wobbled, but both of them are going to catch each other in some sort of exchange. Probably a straight right from Charles Oliveira while Arman's steady with his body kicks. He does have a snappy body kick. I'll give him that. A real snappy body kick, some good Muay Thai. But I think they go back and forth on the feet. Charles Oliveira ends up rocking Arman. Arman panics and grabs onto a single. The second he gets into that single, it's Charles Oliveira time. He grabs the guillotine, and it is good night, Irene. Literally good night, Irene, the same way he beat Kevin Lee. Guillotine, you don't want to tap, go out on your shield, don't matter. All I know is you're going to be waking up. The doctor is going to be waking you up. The refs, Mark Goddard, whoever the ref is going to be waking you up. Your time is done. And this fight really bothers me because legends of the sport like George St. Pierre, Henry Cejudo, Kamaru Usman, even like Hanato Moicano, all these guys are all picking Arman, and I don't get it. It begs me to question, are they casuals? Do they not like Charles Oliveira? What is it that they see of Arman outside of a fluke win versus Dariush that they go, that guy can beat Charles Oliveira. Why the hell did I say Oliveira? I am so effing pumped because it's UFC 300 today. Excuse my language. But it reminds me, it's giving shades of Dustin Poirier versus Benoit Saint-Denis going into the fight. Benoit Saint-Denis is going to make Dustin Poirier quit. His title aspirations are done. The second he beat Benoit Saint-Denis, the narrative changed. Who has Benoit fought? And every time Benoit wins, it's against cans. The second he wins, it's going to go back to that bogus narrative. Now, what happens to Arman after this? Arman Tsarukyan is going to go back to headlining Apex. He's going back to headlining the Apex. He's going to be a beginning of a main card type of guy. Now, a guy who's talking about, I'm going to win the belt, going back to the Apex, how does that happen? It's the same thing with Strickland. Strickland was champion. Now they're making him, instead of getting a rematch, immediate rematch, he's fighting Paulo Costa is what's rumored. Like, you're going to get your chance and you're going to F up, just like how Benoit Saint-Denis did, and you're going back to wherever you were beforehand. An absolute can crusher is exactly what you are. Charles Oliveira will win. Charles Oliveira will get that belt back, and it's Charles Oliveira time. The champion has a name. Like, share, and follow. It's MMA Gang, and that is that.